Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Season Ticket Holders. I'm your host, Dane Lillingston, joined once again by my favourite co-host, Woody. He is, of course, my toy cavoodle, watching on from his bed at my feet. He says hello again to everyone. It's been another massive week in the NRL round 25, highlighted by, of course, my Broncos finally getting a win against the Raiders, only their second win since May, and some absolutely chaotic results, none more so than the Tigers upsetting the Roosters. That means that the New Zealand Warriors are now leading the ladder, which is pretty crazy, now in the box spot for the minor premiership, but they only have a 1 point differential over Penrith. Wars, Panthers and Roosters all tied on 38 points. Dolphins 2 points behind in fourth. Sharks breathing down their necks in fifth. Knights in sixth. Rabbitohs in seventh. The Cowboys in eighth, with only the Bulldogs really a chance of sneaking in. You think that top eight looks pretty set at the moment, but the big news I want to get straight into probably comes as no surprise to my listeners. Adam Reynolds has played his last game for the Brisbane Broncos. I've got to say, I was pretty shocked. He was, of course, pushing for a return by all reports. He trained properly on Monday. I was just looking at an interview with Ben Hunt. He said the playing group had no idea until Monday afternoon, which is when the news started breaking that Adam Reynolds would not be playing again, that his 323-game career had come to an end prematurely. He won't get this fairy tale send-off at Suncorp. Of course, the Broncos host the Melbourne Storm in their final home game of the year on Thursday night. He was battling ongoing calf issues, and we all know Adam Reynolds' history the last few years. He's battled numerous injuries all over his legs and had a head knock recently, but his 15-year career has come to an end now. Of course, the conspiracy theorists and all of us coming out. Did Michael Maguire really just want to move him on? Was this a nice way of doing it? Reynolds, by the sound of the interviews he's done on radio, he was on NRL 360 on Monday night, it sounds like he thought that he was right to go. But I found it interesting. The comments that he said were that he had a chat. He thought he was fine. He had a chat to the medical staff, and they basically pushed him away from making a return this year with the fear that he may not, last the game. And there was a lot of theory and schools of thought out there that why not just name him on the extended bench, give him 20 minutes, heck, you could even give him 5 minutes at the end of the game, something like that. Just a little bit of a swan song. Melbourne Storm Broncos both playing for nothing other than the new kickoff rule experiment. I'll get into that a little bit later. A bit of a farce at the moment. But as far as Reno goes, a very sad way for him to go out. Is there a bit of rift with Michael Maguire? I think the main thing you have to remember, and the one thing that he clarified as well, he's remaining with the club after this year. He will stay on as the halves coach. He's been open in the past about potentially being a head coach in the future, but he will stay on with Brisbane. So any rumours of a rift or anything like that, you'd have to think would be pretty crazy if true, considering the fact that he will be working pretty closely with Michael Maguire and this squad, at least for the next year or two, regardless of what happens now. So it sounds like he said he was fine to play, but the interesting quote I heard him say was that he said something along the lines of, they didn't want the last image of me being stretchered off. Unfortunately, I'm sure we all know that is the last image we have of Adam Reynolds. He went down with, I believe it was the knock against the Knights. I think he lasted about 6 minutes. And following Adam Reynolds' career the last few years, I mean, that's just been a mainstay of his time with Brisbane. It's come with plenty of highs, taking them to the 2023 grand final, being 20 minutes away from an incredible grand final win to break Penrith's streak. Fast forward to last year, he finally leads the team. He wasn't on the field at the end of the day. The final whistle blew, but he was there, instrumental, of course, in taking Broncos to that premiership. The one thing we can't forget is that Adam Reynolds was instrumental. I remember being a fan and finding out that they had signed Adam Reynolds. I didn't really think it was going to happen. I knew he was a great player. Watched him from afar for South. Knew he'd sort of squeeze into that New South Wales team at some point. But I really never thought we would get a player like that in Brisbane. I thought, if anything, he would go to a different Sydney club and that type of thing. And when they did get him, let's not forget the Anthony Seibold dark era, the 2020 wooden spoon, absolute rock bottom for this, historic, proud, club that prided itself on this massive final streak, which is anything but currently. But Adam Reynolds was the one who came in, turned this club around. Him and Kurt Capewell had a big influence when they were both signed. But Reno has been the mainstay of this team, became the captain. I don't think any Broncos fan ever begrudged him becoming the captain as a Sydney sider, a New South Welshman. He's embraced well and truly as a Queenslander in Brisbane. He's going to stay on in Brisbane by all reports. I've heard the things that he said about his family. His family's set up. They love living in the city, and he really has been embraced as one of their own. I'll have to say it right now. Probably my favourite ever New South Welshman. Pretty close. I don't think anything's really come close to him. I finished his biography recently. It was a really interesting read done by Christian Nicoluzzi from Sydney Morning Herald. Growing up near Redfern and then doing what he did coming to Brisbane. I think we're all very, very happy as Broncos fans that we did get Reno to the club, because he did turn it around and put this club back on the track for success. And really, there's no debating it. He's the greatest and the best halfback Brisbane's had since Alfie Langer. And they were massive shoes to fill. And for years, there's just been no one who's been able to do that. Famously in 2006, they had Shane Perry from the Queensland Cup come in and do it. Peter Wallace was a highlight for a while. He had a couple of good seasons. Ben Hunt, of course, we can't forget, to the 2015 grand final. He came so close. But no one's been able to stamp their claim on this famous number 7 jersey since Alfie did retire all those years ago, 25 years ago. So for him to come in and do what he did, he will go down as a Broncos legend, a Souths legend, and very well deserved as a rugby league legend for everything that he's provided for the sport. He brought a calming influence to the club. You see that way he handles the media. I've been at his press conferences post-match, no matter win, lose, or draw big wins. He'll occasionally say a headline sort of grab moment, but most of the time he's pretty, straight up and down, on the head. Tells it how it is, man of not too many words, but he'll give you something. He obviously has radio commitment, so he does know how the game works. So congratulations to Reno. The question is, should he have been given this send-off from Michael Maguire? I think he should have. I know Gordon Tallis came out and said, fairy tales don't always happen, and that is true in sport as in life. That's not what happens. But you would have thought this situation in particular, even if not this week, they still have the Bulldogs in Sydney to finish their season, that he just gets a few minutes. Of course he'd want to do it in Brisbane at Suncorp. I think, personally, he should have been given a chance just to go out. Who cares? They're out of finals contention. This team has been playing like crap. They finally get a good win against the Raiders. But yeah, I would have given it a crack, but Michael Maguire has made his mark, made his move. The medical team have made the decision. I just found it funny that they tried to blame something along the lines of being stretched off as a last memory, because right now, he came off early against the Knights after 5 minutes. He did get, not stretch it off, but he did get pulled off injured in that game. So that is how we will remember him. The most recent memory anyway, but of course we will remember Adam Reynolds as a legend for the Broncos. So thank you a lot, Reno, and I appreciate everything you've done at the club, and we're very happy to have you here. The other big news this week, PNG, Papua New Guinea Chiefs, the super team, have the Avengers assembled. They finally signed Joey Manu, long-rumoured former Roosters and New Zealand centre, a gun on his day, is a really big Supercoach player. For those that, side note, I am in both of my Supercoach Classic finals, won both my prelims, burnt my last 2 trades in the round to get there, but I will be going for the cash. Show me the money this weekend. But Joey Manu joins this team. Obviously, I think it's a good signing. They are going to get players, of course. Let's not forget, this team is still 2 years away. Comes in 2028. Manu's 30 at the moment, so he'll be 32 in the year that they come in. But obviously, he's been over in rugby for the last few years. On his day, one of the best players in the NRL. He showed incredible form when he was on. We'll always remember that moment with Latrell Mitchell and that busted eye socket. That's a highlight moment for sure. But the PNG team, we take a look at it now. A lot of people saying, I've heard a bit of debate on podcasts and everything throughout the week. Is it really a super team? They are going to get players who are pushing north of 30. Right now, you've got Alex Johnston, Matty Lees from St. Helens, Zach Lomax, Jerome Luai, Joseph Manu, Brian To'o, and Connor Watson. So I'm looking at this team right now and seeing Lomax, Luai, To'o, and Watson as New South Wales players, Manu as an international player, Johnston as an international player, Matty Lee's probably the weakest link there. And they haven't really signed, outside of him, any forwards yet. So that's going to be the big thing too. We all know yardage game. You can't win a game of rugby league without a gun forward pack. So they're going to have to start making some moves in that department. I have seen that Hudson Young is willing to open conversations. The other one is Liam Martin. It seems like he's asking for a big money deal at Penrith. So those are two. Wouldn't be surprised if they're going to be heavy linked in the coming weeks to go to PNG. And then, of course, the big talks are, will they eventually land their super big fish? There was a conspiracy that the 007 number, they've got these stairs as they've been signing players. This 007 number was going to be reserved for a superstar. When I say superstar, I'm thinking along the lines of Sam Walker or Nathan Cleary. Those will be the interesting ones. We all know Sam Walker, we talked about it last week, has put his contract talks on hold with the Roosters. We all know Nathan's daddy is leaving the Penrith Panthers after next year, and Ivan Cleary, which also links up with the start of the PNG franchise in 2028. Nathan Cleary's, of course, always been linked with Mary Fowler, a long-term partner now. Her heritage, half her background is from Papua New Guinea. Could Nathan Cleary go and rejoin Batman and Robin with Jerome Luai and do it all again? They might just create this former Penrith team. They've got To'o now. They've got Luai. Be interesting to see if they do get someone like a Liam Martin. They join it with a Nathan Cleary. They've got a core there of a Penrith dynasty. Of course, it's going to be 3-4 years past their peak. But of course, Penrith are still going. It would be very interesting to see. Is this building as a super team? I suppose that is the question. You'd have to say right now, it is heading that way, right? When you look at the quality of players they got, Alex Johnson will be quite old, obviously. Zach Lomax has got his time out of the game for being a naughty boy and trying to go through the court system. Luai is a bit of a divisive player anyway. Is he a top 5/8 in the game? Is he a top half in the game? There's a reason why the Tigers have let him go early. He's going to be at Parramatta for a year next year. To'o, he is still the best, or if not top 3 wingers in the game. Connor Watson's one of the best utilities in the game to see where he slots in. Joey Manu's obviously been out of rugby league, will be coming back from rugby. Johnston is still the highest try scorer in rugby league history and continues to score big calls with doubles and hat tricks and that type of thing. They've got the back line now. The question will be when they get the halfback and the forwards. That's going to be the telling part. Right now, they've got strike power across the park. They've got Jerome Luai, who I wouldn't say could necessarily lead them to a premiership, but they've got a premiership caliber half there. Once they sign a halfback, I think things will be clear. If they can really land a big fish, a la a Walker or Cleary, I mean, that's incredible. You could chuck in a pretty mid-forward pack there and still get a pretty good job done. But I think it's going to be telling when we start seeing some of these big forwards fall. They obviously need some props. They need some second rowers. They need an entire forward pack. What am I saying? They've got a back line right now. So I think we need to calm the farm a little bit. But in saying that, we all know the salary cap. We've been through this ad nauseum. We know that you're going to get double if you go to PNG. This deal, well, from what I understand, is for 10 years, this tax-free PNG salary with the Australian government all been signed off on. You will get, it doesn't include, I believe, your third parties, but as far as your base salary that you will get, and when I say base salary, I'm talking about upwards of $500,000 for these full-time rugby league players. And of course, don't forget the salary cap is expected, or will, not expected, it will go up in the next few years. So that's going to keep going north. Simply, if you're happy to live on a compound in PNG, which not everyone's going to be, but like I said, as Jerry Maguire said, show me the money. If you get double your salary to go live in a compound, and you might only have to live there for, maybe let's say 9 months of the year, you're still going to come back to Australia every second week. I'm sure they'll find a way, but you might be able to spend an extra day to catch up with family and stuff while you're here. It's flexible, and you've got money to fly back whenever you want. And I'm sure there's going to have to be some sort of leeway from the club with compassionate grounds and, what happens when family members die of these players and big life events. There's going to be some pushing. There's going to be some give, I think, which you would have to imagine would be the case. I think they're going to have to be flexible with letting players come home back to Australia and do their thing just to keep everyone happy. I reckon they will do that. Michael Chammas seems like a well-drilled operator. What am I getting at here? Is it a super team yet? I think time will tell, but I think they're definitely on the path. I mean, when you've got Luai, Johnston, Watson, Lomax, To'o Manu, I mean, it's an incredible start. And once they lock in their halfback, and if it is a Sam Walker, Nath Cleary, Jesus, look out. Going to be very interesting. Now, perfect segue into the Perth Bears, who've just announced they have signed Corey Horsburgh. Of course, he has been on the outer with Canberra and Ricky Stewart for a little while now. It's been interesting to watch. There were talks he was chatting with Brisbane. I was actually keen to get him at the Broncos. Of course, he's made his origin debut a few years ago for Queensland. A fiery player. Been known to fire up and cry on the field. He will join in 2027. I'm just going to read out, thanks to Zero Tackle, just the current best 19 that they have up here. Of course, this team is going to be in preseason training in just a few months' time for their first game in the NRL in 2027. Apatwiddle at number 1. You have to think that changes. Number 2, Harry Newman on the wing. Sean Russell and Gemet Shibasaki in the centres. Solid, but it still screams State League to me. Nick Meaney on the other wing, with Harry Newman. Hasn't been having his best season for Melbourne. Tyron Wishart, I think that's a player that you could really get excited about. He's on, I've heard, maybe even Craig Bellamy said in the past, he's a starting NRL player, but unfortunately just when you've got Jerome Hughes, Cam Munster and Harry Grant in front of you, what the hell do you do? Super utility he's been, and he's always stepped in and done a job whenever Hughes and Munster's gone down, which has been a bit. Toby Sexton at 7. I mean, should he have ever been pushed on by the Bulldogs? We all know the Lachlan Galvin saga. He was the unlucky man that did get pushed out of that one. Plying his trade in the Super League since. Solid. I like the halves. I do like the halves. There's not a superstar in it, but that doesn't mean it won't be successful. Liam Henry, now that's a good signing at 8. Done great things for Penrith. Tyson Smoothie, he went to the premiership with the Broncos at 9. I like that too. Solid. Corey Horsburgh at 10. Scott Sorensen from the Panthers and Josh Curran in the second row. Again, very, very solid. And Morgan Smithies, the English international and Raiders, man, at lock. Now, they've just got a bench here at the moment of Sifa Talakai from the Sharks, Milojak Olazetsky, I believe he's in the Super League, James McDonald, Isaac Fasuamala Aoi, Jack Cole, and Chris Vatlei. And then the players I've got from 20 to 27, I don't recognise any of them. And according to this, they've got 27 players signed. So that means they've still got 3 and then another 6 development players to come. So Horsburgh, of course, the new name on that list and a good signing. They've got a hooker. They've got their halves. You'd think they might want to try and get a fullback because there is plenty, but who knows? We'll see how this team goes. I did see something interesting throughout the week, which is that they had finally arranged some salary cap, or was it third-party compensation dispensation for the Bears, but Mal Meninga apparently said he was happy with his team and didn't want the help anymore, which I did find very surprising considering there was a big push in the media to give Perth some help once PNG started announcing all these big signings. And then Mal turns around and says, take it back with the sun don't shine. I don't want it, which I find very surprising. Of course, let's not forget that there are rumblings and rumours, and they are only that Mal Meninga won't even be the coach come kickoff because there has been drama behind the scenes. Plenty of people don't think that Mal is up to the rigours of full-time NRL coaching. There's only going to be one way to find out. It's going to be very, very interesting. So, yeah. The Wooden Spoon race will be interesting like next year. I think the Bears are up there. People have said that. But let's not forget that West Tigers are still in this NRL competition. So you can never write them out. So that's the NRL news of the week. I'd just like to thank our sponsor, National Freight Management. They hand everything from crates through to pallets nationwide. Gerard and the team do a fantastic job. You can find out more information at nationalfreightmanagement.com.au. Of course, they're responsible for donating a New South Wales Blues jersey. I did lose a bet to Gerard. I will be getting that out to our lucky winner who's already been contacted. So we'll get that sorted very, very shortly. The battle for the minor premiership in the NRL, I mentioned at the top of the show, is quite crazy now. The Wires, which I believe my Broncos are out. So I do have to declare it now. I will be jumping all aboard across the ditch on the New Zealand train this year. And I dare say I'm not the only one because I think the Wires are going to be everyone's second team in this final series. Anyone who's not going to be there, I think that is going to be the team you're going to jump on board. 45-26 over the Rabbitohs in round 25. Just impressive again. Even with the injuries throughout their halves, throughout the season, they seem to keep coming back. They get Tamari Martin back now as well, so massive in for them. Penrith obviously stay right up there. Hard fought against Melbourne, who did stage a little bit of a fight back, 22-14. That meant that they still stay tied for first. But as I mentioned, just a 1 point differential. Wires actually kicked a field goal, and that's the reason they are sitting on top by points differential by a single point. They apparently had no idea that was the case, so pretty funny that. And then the big result, of course, as we mentioned, was the Tigers pipping the Roosters, courtesy of Jock Madden, a 78th minute field goal. That's after Sam Walker had kicked the 5th-minute penalty goal. Big result. Just when the Roosters are humming, they go down to a result like that. People calling the shock of the season, the upset of the season. It'd be hard to disagree. Yeah, very interesting. So now the final 2 rounds of the competition and the minor premiership battle wide open. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, like I said, the Waz are my pick. Panthers, you're never, ever going to ride out. They're going to be there. You'd be shocked if they didn't make a prelim. Roosters and then Dolphins in their first finals campaign. Be interesting that they can hold on. They've got the Sharks just behind them with 173 plus points differential, which is about, 35 odd points better than Dolphins. So if Dolphins drop a game, Sharks win, they are going to jump them. And like I said, Knights, Rabbitohs, and Cowboys to round it all out. It is a shame. Who would have thought? This is going to segue into my good or bad for fans, but who would have thought the defending premiers and the grand finalists from last year are now going to be trialling an NRL rule, and both teams are not going to be in the finals. Pretty shocking for Craig Bellamy's men when it was officially confirmed by them too. I mean, the only time they've missed the finals under his tenure was the salary cap scandal when they got stripped of points. They haven't lost it on merit since the early 2000s. So pretty crazy streak that had for finals. Really incredible what that club's done. But injuries, things just didn't quite click for Melbourne this year. There's always a high turnover at that club. Xavier Coates had bad injury dramas. Sua Falongo has been just amazing in that starting fullback since Ryan Pappenhausen's gone. But Munster, Grant, and Hughes have had long stretches out, and their forward pack isn't what it used to be. So, good or bad for fans? And the first one I have is they are going to be using the grand final rematch on Thursday night to kick off round 26 as a kick-off trial. Now, the club's already decided in the preseason they didn't want this rule, which is that the way they're going to run it is this: the team that concedes can now decide whether they receive the ball back or kick off. Apparently, it's supposed to stop the flow of points. It's the same thing they do on my Oztag team too. Once they've scored too many tries, they stop making the losing team kick off and they get them to tap the ball and run. So Peter V'landys taking a page out of Oztag's book. Of course, they do include Oztag figures, I'm pretty sure, in rugby league participation numbers. So it's only fair that they share some of the rules too. Good or bad for fans? I don't like it. The club's already said they don't want it, and now they're trialling it again in a grand final rematch on Thursday night. The club's apparently okay with it. The way it will work is that the captain will have to make the decision straight after the try. The coach won't be involved. Well, we won't think they'll be involved. That's sort of like, wink, wink, coming from the coach's box or the sideline staff. But apparently the captain is supposed to be the one who makes the call. They're going to tell the ref right after the try has been scored, and they're going to try it on Thursday night. I don't like it. They didn't want it in originally. Gordon Tallis has spoken about how they did it back 20, 30 years ago, whenever it was. There's a reason it didn't last. I like NRL rule changes. Peter V'landys, and they've generally done a great job of keeping the sport fresh. But there's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Stop tinkering with these things that don't need to be fixed. Is anyone really complaining about the kickoffs? I've never heard one person ever do it. And it wasn't until the off-season that we even heard there was a drama. Just stop doing it. The flip side, some good or bad for fans. Jai Arrow given special permission to run out and start the game so he can notch up 100 games for Souths this weekend. That's a really, really special moment. Nice initiative. He's been given special permission by the NRL to let it happen. He'll be subbed off before everything gets underway, but he will run on with the team. So he gets his 100th cap for South. Really special moment for Jai. That's obviously an awesome thing for fans. We all know what happened with his motor neuron disease diagnosis earlier this year, and it's been a special roller coaster. But, the one good thing about NRL and rugby league is that when things like this go wrong, they have a real way of knowing how to really just handle these things right. And it's been beautiful what they're doing for Jai, and then the try dry. The Arrow celebrations all throughout the season, which even got picked up by different codes around Australia. And just to do this is special. Then, the other big news is that Latrell Mitchell was on the extended bench as a super sub. He's not in the 19, though. He's just on the extended. I spoke to Wayne Bennett a couple weeks ago. There was a bit of a moment, him and I back and forth, shutting me down, a little bit viral. Wouldn't give me anything. Basically said Latrell Mitchell may have played his last game of the year, but he didn't know. So don't you talk to him? He said, what do you think I live with him? It's up on our social channels. Go check it out. But he is pushing, and it looks like he may get a game before the end of the year. Of course, he'd be a massive in for their finals hope. So great thing for fans if he finally does get there. but you just don't know. It's one of those injuries, that nerve issue seems to be lingering. So if he does get back out there, obviously a massive, massive in, but we just really do have to wait and see. And yeah, love to see Latrell on his day. He was in incredible form, Supercoach form earlier in the year, cracked $1 million on the NRL Supercoach. But whether it hasn't been suspension this year, it's been injury. So it'd be great to see him back just in time for the finals. Would be a massive boost. We'll see how we go. And if he talks to the media, another one to watch. He did break his media silence, speaking about Campbell Graham earlier this year. So when he finally does play his first game, I'm sure he'll be keen to talk. Or will he? We'll see. And that's it, guys. Unless you're the Newcastle Knights. It's supposed to be a day of celebration at the McDonald Jones Stadium on Saturday for Old Boys Day. Instead, the Seagulls smashed them 44-24. They unveiled the Dark Knight, the mascot. Didn't matter. All like jokers. Guys, thank you very much for all your support and all your love. We'll get back into some guests. We've just had some solo episodes recently. Woody's been very happy. He says thank you for all the support too. Didn't make an appearance. He was too tired. He's been asleep the whole time, guys. But we'll get him to make a showing next time. If you could give us some love and support on Apple and Spotify, it'd be a massive help as always. And thanks for listening. Take care, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.